I've been asked by you guys a lot to make a video on showing my favorite issues that say like my top 10 or top 20. And when you own every single issue ever printed from 1951 to 1993, complete month by month, year by year, it is almost impossible to narrow that down to just 10 magazines. So I give it my best shot, and I narrowed it down to my favorite 10, maybe a baker's 10. It'll be a little bit more than 10. But we're going to take a look at the ones that were the most meaningful or eye-catching to me. Two things in life, for me in my life anyway, that bring me nostalgia. One, obviously, are the old 70s wrestling magazines, and a very close second would be the Art Bell show, the radio show. Listening to him as I fall asleep every night years ago on that old radio show, if anyone's familiar with it, it's just a certain nostalgia, and it brings you right back to that very moment of your life, that period of your life. That's just a great feeling, and hearing that voice does it for me, and seeing these magazine covers do it for me, and probably mostly all of you guys as well. My very favorite all-time magazine will never, ever be topped. April '75, Inside Wrestling, with a bloody Bobby Heenan. This was the very first issue I had ever got, so it's always going to be the most special to me. I've never been without it. I can't imagine never having it. If I had to burn my entire pile, it would be everything but this. Just totally sentimental. I remember the first day I got it. I remember when the person gave it to me, and it's what started me off in 1977 and just never stopped. This video is going to be kind of all over the place. There's no particular order. I do have it categorized with a couple of my favorite wrestlers, and we see a bunch of theirs, but it's kind of be like all over the place, really. There's no real set pace for this. This next issue, The Wrestler May '73. I love bloody covers, and I love the covers that had champions on the cover with the belt. You'll see a lot of those. When I had a favorite issue, I liked to get it signed by the wrestlers if I could meet them, and so a lot of these are coming from my signed collection. I'd always equate the other Bobby Heenan one with this one. These are two great ones. This one this is my very special one that I have this put away, and I don't take it out of a plastic case. This is my reader copy. I have two of them. I think it sells for a pretty good penny too, by the way, if you can find it. It says November 1970. My God, Bobby, what happened to your face is the tagline on the cover, and just a bloody mess. If you're a fan of bloody issues, this is the one for you. And not only a rapist invades girls' dressing room on the top of the cover. That's a recycled story from the 60s also, and you see that a few times. Even, I think, Wrestling either that or Guide also had the same story as well. The Sheik, John Tolos, this was an issue that just appealed to me. I always loved looking at it in the back issues, dreaming to get it one day in the black and white little square 1-inch by 1-inch pictures in the back of the back issues. A lot of these coming up will be the ones that I stared at and couldn't wait to track down one day, and this was one of them. And just trying to figure, it was the Sheik, but you don't know who he's with, and you're trying to guess who it is, and it was just a lot of fun trying to figure out who these guys were and who was on the cover, who they wrestling. It was just, you just really can't describe that. If you weren't there to experience it as it was going on, you'll never be able to understand how cool it was to look back at those back issue little black and white photos with a magnifying glass. Heartbreaking was when they went to the new format and they changed it and just described the magazine cover rather than show you. What an awful concept. It all but stopped me from buying it because I didn't know what the cover looked like, and I bought magazines based on great covers. This is what sold it for me, and if I can't see the cover, I'm not going to buy it because it might be terrible. March of '72, Bloodbath in Chicago, another one that I always loved. Crusher and Bruiser were on so many covers, so many bloody covers, and they look so much alike, and they're on a ton of them back in the WWA territory when the Bruiser had his company going. This is another one I love, the Cat Ernie Ladd, and also King Ernie Ladd, the annual 1976 issue number 1. Was never able to meet him or get it signed, but a real close second, a good friend of mine, got me this autographed photo of him with the America's title and also wearing the crown. Just love this magazine cover, and being issue number 1 from the annual, I always loved it. I'm also going to throw in the Japanese issues that I love as well. It's just, the epitome of every wrestling TV show, movie, ad, big bald guy squeezing somebody's face, and here it is, just, the stereotypical shot of a wrestler. And there wasn't many photos like this on actual covers, but you'd see it for in commercials or, like I said, TV spots or something. You'd see this big burly bald guy squeezing somebody by the face, and that would be like their shot to advertise the wrestling. And here it is captured on the cover of July of 1969, Gong. Great cover. Another great cover, and a rare cover as well, to see Gorilla Monsoon on the cover of a magazine. I can count maybe 2 in America that he was on. Stanley Weston issues, that is. He was on a couple of official wrestling and maybe one popular, but that's it. There were small photos. This is like the first action shot of him dominating the cover in 1972 April on Gong separate volume issue, and he's got him in that Lex Luger's torture rack. Just a great shot of the Destroyer showing his nasty teeth with the sock mask, and it's just an ugly looking, scary looking dude. There's another one that's very similar to this, Wrestling World. I think it's 66. I like that. I like this one better. I just wanted to show this to one because this is more rare. This is a 1972 December's issue of Gong, and what a great looking shot of the Destroyer, who spent most of his career in Japan. Pedro Morales, the new World Wrestling Federation champion, and the first time Pedro showing off the new Winged Eagle, which would be a mainstay for the WWF championship belts for the next 15 years or so. And just an old vintage shot, Andre the Giant with the long vest with the tassels and the big hair, and just a really cool looking shot, very dated, very 70s look, and just always like that issue. This one as well, Pedro with his original version, actually his second. He had 3 belts that he held. It was the one that he won that night from Koloff, this one here, and the that last one we just looked at with the Winged Eagle. This was his only photo on the cover of a magazine posing with the belt alone, and it's a great looking shot of him wrestling monthly, June of 1972. Another great shot of the Bruiser on the cover of January 75. Just a mean, nasty looking dude, is missing his teeth. It looks like he's missing his eye. His hair's a mess, and it just looks like he would tear your head off. Very intimidating looking wrestler compared to the little wimpy grade school kids that look today on some of these magazine covers. I seen a PWI not long ago, and I was just like, it looked like a teen magazine. There was like a bunch of little kids on the cover. I'm like, Jesus, man, what the hell happened to these magazines? It's really a shame. A extremely bloodied Harley Race getting the Blackjack Mulligan Claw March of 79 Inside Wrestling. Another great bloody action cover shot that I loved. My favorite big man, Don Leo Jonathan, on the cover of 1972. This was the issue that made me a fan of Don Leo and made me look him up, because I was like, man, who is this giant dude with those big chop sideburns, and just got sucked into the not knowing anything about him and wanting to learn more about him. And it just, this magazine is what captured me and made me a fan to read about Don Leo. I didn't get to see him hardly at all when I was a kid wrestle. He was mainly in Canada and up north, and not really too much in the WWF. A couple small months he was there feuding with Andre, but not long. We'll look at a couple from the Sheik, a couple of my favorites from the Sheik, and this will always probably be the #1 photo cover of the Sheik. And this is June of 1975, Ben Strong's issue with him with the United States Championship belt. Just probably, definitely my favorite posed cover with the Sheik, even though they say he never posed for a cover. It looks real close. Another great shot of him in Gong, December 1974, and it's got him with the blade in his mouth. Great close-up shot of the Sheik. Love that cover of the magazine. Pro Wrestling Monthly, November 1977, again with the Sheik. Taking on Harley Race, jamming him in the forehead, bleeding like a sieve, and got the spike in the forehead of Harley is the Sheik on the cover, Fall 78, Victory Sports Annual 1978. Great looking shot of a bloody mess of both the Sheik and Abdullah the Butcher in September 1975. It's just two heads covering the entire cover of the magazine. Just a great shot. Sheik's feud with Dick the Bruiser needs no explanation from me in the 70s. The battle for Detroit, and two great competitors, two great companies that were around long ago. Great looking magazine cover. Both guys a bloody disaster. This has got Terry Funk in the camel clutch. Superstar Billy Graham getting ready to take on Dusty Rhodes in the far corner here in January 78's issue of Inside Wrestling. The Sheik and Freddie Blassie on the cover inside a steel cage, steel fence, April of 1972 in a match in Los Angeles. Let's take a look at a few Superstar Billy Grahams. And this is a tie. Ask me tomorrow, it's the one behind this one. Ask me today, it's this one of my favorite cover with Superstar, and probably my close second favorite of all time. Just a great shot. I used to stare at this. I ordered this from the back issue, and it was $5. And at the time, I think they were, I don't remember if they were $1 or $2. And if you remember back then, Stanley Weston had the issues. They didn't show the pictures, so it was just a description. So you needed to know the date. And if you read up above the listing, it said some of the magazines we had found in our warehouse have soiled bottoms from either getting wet or dirty from moving from one office to another. So there could be some damage to it. And I remember like shitting myself, thinking like, man, I hope the magazine's not ripped or it's not destroyed. And I sent the whole $5 out. And you know, when you're 10 years old, $5 is like $1 million to you, because you know you hardly have either one. And I was just praying to God that that 6 weeks that it took to get the magazine, by the time you mailed the check to TV Sports, Box 48, Roxville Center, New York, you're just counting the days down every day in school, bouncing in your head, running to the mailbox, wondering if that magazine showed up, looking for that big yellow envelope. And when it finally showed up and it was in mint condition, man, it was just the greatest thing in the world. Great shot of Superstar, another magazine that I'll never get rid of. And this one was my one that I'll probably be my favorite tomorrow. I equally as love it as much. This is before his WWF run, and Superstar now with the tassels and the tie-dyes, just starting in the 1974. He went through a couple of changes in his appearances up to this point, and this would be a mainstay from 74 on. Superstar looking like a fortune teller with the headband on the cover. Sports Review, August 77. Another great posed shot of Superstar. And these are mostly, all these are signed by Superstar. Another great shot of Superstar, December 1977. All these are just equally and you know, love in my heart for them. I just, you know, love them all. And try to fix the cam here. Love them all pretty much the same. When it comes to Superstar, it's just, you know, it's all of them equal as we look at March of 1975. Great shot of Superstar posing here. A different look, a totally different setup for Inside Wrestling with the almost like the Batman looking Powell. He has Inside Wrestling popping out at you. They didn't stick with this very long. I think just 2 issues had this font on the cover. They were trying something different in the middle of 1976. And Superstar posing in Times Square on top of the steel trash can, it just does not get any better looking than that. Superstar set to take on Harley Race in Miami, Florida for the Super Bowl of wrestling, and every one of the magazines that featured Harley and Superstar together on were my favorite because 1, they were bloodied, and 2, everyone was having them with the belts. And this is just a great shot of these two. And it's also signed by Bruno on the bottom. So all three world champions. December of 1977, Wrestling Superstars. Sports Review, May of 78, talking about the most important match of our time. Went to the 1 hour time limit with Superstar and Harley race, title versus title. And this is a shot during the match of a bloodied up Superstar. And before the blood happened, fall of 78. A little hard to see. It's also signed by Mascaras and Bob Backlund along with Harley and Superstar, and totally loved this shot as a kid. This hung in my shelf in my room for a long time. Finishing up on Superstar, I think we'll be back to a couple of more of him later on. This was Bruno's, Sammartino's first cover as WWF World Champion, and I just always loved this shot of him. Big, thick, burly guy with the interim WWF belt with the Indian head in February of 1964. Bruno's first cover as champion. Also, all fell in love with this issue and had to get it signed immediately. June of 66, Bruno Wrestling Review with the belts. All the tri-state issues with Bruno I loved all the tri-state issues because they were so different. And these came out in 1967, this issue. They came out in 64, 67, 65. The dates aren't on them, they're inside them, so I don't have them right in front of me. But next couple you'll see are all tri-state magazine. And another great shot of Bruno with the other belt and just looking pretty awesome. Bruno on the cover with Mascaras, and just always loved this cover as well. Two big guys talking about a dream match in 1976. Mascaras, the IWA heavyweight champion, Bruno, the WWF heavyweight champion. Bruno taking on Ivan Koloff in a Madison Square Garden World Championship Wrestling magazine yearbook. Pretty rare magazine to come by. There's only one of these made for Madison Square Garden. Always loved this photo, and I love the pull-out poster inside Superstar. We got Sammartino smashing a chair into the head of Killer Kowalski. It's a great photo. If you do find this issue, spring of 1970, Wrestling World, make sure the color pinup is in it. Sammartino wins the title for the second time, and the Japanese issue put out in February of 1974 has a great shot of Sammartino with the belt, and also Koloff and Stasiak and Pedro on the bottom as well. For some reason, don't know why, and that's going to be a lot of these issues. I just, for some reason, just love the cover. Anytime you're talking about Rock Riddle, I mean, come on, how much better can it get? I did everything I could to find out who the hell Rock Riddle was, and it just turned out to be just a Southern California local guy who wrestled, never really went any further than California. Kind of like one of the, like Rick Drayson, a wrestler like that, who was also he played the in-between Hulk when the Hulk TV show was on, and he transformed before he became Lou Ferrigno. Drayson was a little bit smaller, but he was a wrestler around the same time as Rock Riddle. This is August of 1975, and it's got Spiros Arion in the half crab. One of your last looks, this one and Inside Wrestling of 77 is Bruno's last magazine cover as champion with the belt, and it's also signed by the recently passed Terry Funk when he was the NWA World Champion. Taking a look at a couple of Bob Backlund issues, and this was just after Bob won the title. Just a great looking magazine cover, blacked out background of the arena, and Bob with the new belt on, and most of these are all going to be signed as well. November 79 annual Backlund Sports Review. Backlund again on the cover. Also had Bruno sign the small photo up top here on the side. Backlund again on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, March of 1983. And just standing with the hands on the hips. Pretty good shot of Backlund just before losing the title right around the corner later on that year. May of '82, the All-American boy has grown up. Of the wrestler, here's Bob Backlund with the American flag. Always thought that was a sharp-looking cover. Always liked this issue because it had Superstar Graham, the return of him taking on Bruiser Brody down in Houston in this issue. Inside Wrestling, when the Greg Valentine won the WWF title, when he was clearly pinned, but the referee raised the hand of Valentine. They both had black trunks on, they both had blonde hair, and the referee just got confused and gave the belt to Valentine, which held the belt up for 1 month, and Bob would become champion again the next month. Just a cool little angle to change things up. Backlund taking on the future of the WWF, Hulk Hogan, but at this point, July of 1981, just another competitor. Hulk Hogan takes on Backlund. Always liked this cover as well. Backlund takes on Ric Flair for a title versus title in Atlanta. Not a whole lot of coverage. I mean, there was. I mean, a lot of magazines covered it, but it was never really talked about that much. It could have been so much bigger than it was, and it just kind of stayed kind of small. A great looking bloody shot of Backlund with the belt on the cover of Best of the Wrestler, February 1980, and just always liked that cover as well. Mil Mascaras on the cover, March of '72 of The Wrestler, and always liked this issue. I don't have this one signed, one of the few from Mil that I haven't gotten signed that I want to. This mask that he's wearing, I came real close to buying that exact mask, his exact mask with this from this cover shot. My friend has it, and he's just a few $1,000s more than I can dig into, but it came close one time. He still got it, and I may have it one day. It depends on how much of an itch I get and how much I want to spend that day and how my finances are, because it was pretty expensive. But it was the exact mask that he's wearing in this photo. He signed that mask and signed this issue too, and it's in the future, I think. I think I'm going to grab that. I'm sure nobody else is going to buy it unless somebody from Japan comes up with it, because they love Mascaras over there. And he sells a lot to Japan. This is another cover I just love. On the cover of Wrestling Picture Book of Winter '76. It's also signed by Bruno here. He's taking on Eric the Red in the armbar. Great looking shot. Mascaras posing on the cover of Victory Sports Annual '77. Also, it's autographed by Ivan Putski and Terry Funk down here at the bottom small. It's kind of hard to see with the black pen. My favorite match of all time that I discussed with you guys before is the October '73 match with the Destroyer and Mascaras. And this magazine, Gong, of November '73, is dedicated entirely to that match. Every single page is that match. It's a very thin one in comparison to like another Gong here. You can see how thick that one is compared to this one, but it's a special issue. It didn't take the place of another magazine, so they had two issues that came out in November, and this was the special issue for November. Very expensive, very hard to find this issue. Like I said, I love that match. It was my favorite, and having a whole magazine dedicated to just that match is just awesome for a fan like me anyway, who likes it. Another great shot of Mascaras with the IWA belt on the cover of Gong, January 1976. This was a cool cover. The Japanese put out some great covers along with their fantastic magazines. It's got Mascaras' head with two different masks on from two different shots, split open with another shot of Mascaras down the middle. It's just such a cool looking shot for 1972. You just didn't see things like that, and it's just great. This entire magazine as well is dedicated to Mascaras. They have a bunch of magazines dedicated to just Mascaras, and it's not a special issue. So if you're not a Mil Mascaras fan and you're a collector of Japanese, if you don't like Mascaras, don't buy this one. It's all Mascaras. A rare shot of Mil on this cover of August of 1972. Great shot of him with that bat mask. You don't see that very often either. Probably my second favorite in Japan. The entire white background of the magazine is his white mask. It's just the entire face here is a mask. I just thought that was so cool. August of 1974, Gong. one of his first fully posed magazines on a Stanley Weston magazine, March of 1971. Also on the rarer side to find this issue with Mascaras, saying why Mascaras returns to California, where he would take the America's title. Lucha Libre magazine let's say Brazil in Mexico. It's got a great cover of Mascaras. I like this issue a lot. The next one as well, old school shot, Mascaras with the cheetah mask, and I don't see the date on here. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. This is Weekly Gong's 1000th issue, and they've got Mascaras to pose on it with the special 1000th mask to commemorate the 1000th issue. Very, very expensive issue if you can find it at all. Last time I seen one, it was upwards of $700. I mean, talk about ridiculous. Not saying that they get it, but that they listed for. I don't know how much they actually sell for, but they are not cheap. And trust me, I paid nothing like that. I got it for basically, front page value. But a great looking magazine, great commemorative issue if you're a fan of Gong Weekly, and it's got every issue in full color going back from the first all the way to the 1000th, showing them all the covers inside and pull out color photos and a bunch of photos of Mascaras at the celebration. IWA Parade magazine of the match between Ivan Koloff and Mascaras that took place in New Jersey in 1975. Another one of my favorite magazine programs. This sucker here, another extremely expensive magazine, almost like a book. I mean, it's ridiculously thick, ridiculously heavy. Calling it a magazine is it's weird because it's almost like a book, but it's very soft. It has about 15 pull-out posters in it. It's full color inside. This came out in, I believe, 72, so it's early on still in his career and also his Japanese career. Early so where they had to make a volume 2 and a volume 3 to this. I believe it's called The Beautiful Life or The Wonderful Life, Mil Mascaras. Very, very expensive, upwards to $300 to $400, sometimes $150. Depends on the condition, and it depends if all the posters are in it. If all the posters are in it, you're paying a lot. This has all the posters in it. This is part 2 to The Wonderful Life of Mil Mascaras, or The Wonderful World. I can't remember the name, honestly. This has also got a fantastic cover, Mascaras with the full Aztec dress. Absolutely love this cover. Great looking magazine, great looking photos, and also a bunch of posters in that issue as well. Moving on to a few of the Ric Flair issues. Not one of my favorites, but I look at these as nostalgic. This time period, Harley Race 83 ending his time as champion, Ric Flair 84 coming into that time as champion, the introduction to cable TV and getting all these matches on TV. Well, not so much the matches, but the build up, the TV programming of it all was just a great time period. And buying these magazines and reading about the stars that we're actually seeing on TV every week now really brought it home for us. It brought it right to life, and this was just one of those issues along with the rest of these. Everyone knows what these issues are. Nothing very special, but just to me, they'll always be very important to me, and I always loved Ric Flair's posed magazine covers. I always tried to get as many as I could signed by Flair. October of '82, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Just a great looking shot. Why I Hate Being Champion, and this is just after he won it back. Last chance to quiet the critics, December 1986, after he defeated Dusty Rhodes after the Great American Bash to win the title back for the 4th time. Tommy Wildfire Rich with a short run, who was extremely popular down south in the Georgia area. And September 81 issue, he defeats Harley Race to become the one-time NWA World Champion. It's just a great looking shot of Tommy on the cover as champ. Magnificent Battle of the Golden Boys, February of 1982, signed by Flair and Rich, and Flair, now the champion, defending it against Tommy Rich. And I remember buying this magazine as well, and it's just, that stupid nostalgia reason, this brings you right back to the day you bought it, as well as the rest of these. I love all these covers. October of 1983, the wrestler Race wins the title for the 6th time, and bloody up Harley and Flair on the cover. Love that cover. Race now with his first, only, and last PWI cover, November of 83, with the 10 pounds of gold. Harley, after beating Dusty Rhodes for the short reign, January 1980, the wrestler, also the Sheik, is taking on Backlund when Backlund won the Sheik's U.S. title. Ric Flair on the cover of PWI, November 1985, after regaining the title from beating Kerry Von Erich. Great looking cover there. Another one of my favorites. Remember where I bought it? In that little shithole magazine store that I bought this one in. Place looked like it was closed. It was dark, dingy. It stunk of cigar smoke. A miserable old prick at the front counter. This brings you right back to 1983 when you're 12, 13, whatever year old. August 83 of the wrestler, signed by Flair and Greg Valentine. Kerry Von Erich on the cover with Billy Jack. Florida heavyweight champion is Jack, and Kerry, the new NWA world champion. One of the first magazines I remember when Kerry won the belt, and looking at him as the first time as a champion. A feud that I would have loved to have seen, but didn't grow up in the Carolinas like some of my very good friends did. And Blackjack Mulligan and Flair, I heard, was an awesome feud. They were an awesome tag team together, and would have loved to have seen that feud. Just an awesome looking magazine cover of a mean, nasty Hulk Hogan, camel clutching Andre the Giant. I don't like this because of the cards. I like this just because of the simple fact that it's just a great looking magazine cover. Wrestling 87 with the Four Horsemen, and I had all Four Horsemen plus J.J. Dillon sign this issue. I just always love this cover of the Horsemen, and all of them with the championship belts. Just doesn't get much better than that. Great shot of Harley Race after defeating the Giant Baba to become the champion once again in '79. And this is Pro Wrestling Monthly Deluxe. And it's just a great looking shot of Harley in his casual wear with the championship belt. Take a look at a couple of Mid-Atlantic magazines. Chief Wahoo McDaniel as the U.S. heavyweight champion, and just a great looking shot of Wahoo. Rock and Roll Express on the cover as they became the first NWA World Tag Team Champions. Good looking shot of them. Great looking shot at Ric Flair on the cover of Mid-Atlantic. Great looking shot of just, candid, blacked out background of Flair just coming in with that blonde hair and the gold belt. Great looking shot. Take a look at a few Road Warrior shots, and this is your first look at the Road Warriors on the cover of PWI. It's just a great looking issue. Second shot of them on PWI September 1984. Another great shot of LOD. Pro Wrestling Illustrated got when the Road Warriors invade the AWA and take the tag team championships, January of 1985. Great looking shot there. One of your last action shots on PWI as well. The Wrestling News put out issue number 116, and that's them as the AWA champs with the old style AWA belts. And just always loved this issue. Too bad I didn't get Hawk to sign it, of course, passing away. Both guys passed away now. It's a shame. Such a big, powerful team. They were on the cover of some great looking Japanese issues, and for whatever reason, this cover appealed to me. It's just a real close-up shot of them early on with the primitive makeup, and it's just a cool looking shot. Very thick magazine, thick gong issue. A lot of great photos in this one. Another great shot posed on the cover of Pro Wrestling Weekly with the new style AWA Tag Team Championship belts. Always love this program when they take on the Japanese Battle Arts company. It's really hard to get this in there with the glare, sorry. I guess you can kind of see it, right? It's just Animal and Hawk. Great shot of those two during their last tour of Japan in late 2000. And just this hangs on my wall on the other side of my weight room. Just a great looking shot. Can't fit it in there. Sorry about the glare, but nothing was better than Superfly Snuka in 82, 83 when he was turning babyface in the WWF. He was super red hot. Very nostalgic time. Everybody loves the Superfly taking on Don Morocco, which was a fantastic feud in the Northeast, and fighting Lou Albano in the process. These next couple issues were signed by Jimmy, and I meant to grab the one with Backlund in the wrestling world. I guess I forgot it. I love this issue as well from Main Event. This was like one of the first Main Event issues I remember buying myself. Then I caught the other ones from the back orders. But this was, I think, the first one that I bought off the newsstands. It was still relatively new in 1982 at that time. May of 1983, Morocco with the Intercontinental belt, and one of the few shots of the Intercontinental belt on the cover of a magazine, especially this version. Superfly and Backlund. Yeah, I forgot the Wrestling World issue that went behind this, and that's also another one that I loved a lot. It's just a great feud with those two. Seen them twice in Philly go at it. Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Love both those guys. Adrian Adonis was great. Jesse the Body was great, and made a great team. AWA Tag Team Champions came to the WWF, and both were tag teams for a while, then split up. This issue too always was one of my favorites. Tommy Rich taking on Flair in 1983 in July. The Spoiler taking on Mr. Wrestling 2 was another one of my faves. I remember buying this that day off the shelf as well, and May 1982's issue. And we'll close it out with the Great American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. After winning the title for the third time, beating Ric Flair in the Great American Bash, December of 1986's issue. First look at Dusty Rhodes with the big gold. Of course, I mean, who cannot love Dusty? I've always loved Dusty. Love this issue. My favorite issue with him as the champ. The belt looks great around his waist. And that's it, man. No rhyme, no reason, just is. These are just, my favorites. I think I went more than 10. I'm not sure. I tried to keep it 10, but it's damn impossible. I mean, I couldn't just do 10 for 2 months worth of magazines. There's no way I could do 10 forever. So these are just a couple of my absolute favorites that I love the most. And you guys asked me to which ones my favorites were, and by far these are. I'm sure there's a bunch I could have put in, but I had to narrow it down sometime. So thanks for looking back with me on my nostalgic look back, and we'll see you guys on the next one.